Hello, GOPO kids. Welcome to our first ever notes. This is going to be over chapter 1, just an introduction to American government and politics. I would highly suggest that you have a copy of your notes with you so that you can understand and follow along and take handwritten notes or however you want to do this as we go through this note slide. I'm going to divide it up. Today we're going to go over sections 1 and 2, and then we'll go 3 and 4 coming up. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we want to, the goal of today is for you to be able to understand how to describe the balance between government power and individual rights. There is a shift in balance, and it's an inverse relationship. The more power the government has, the less power we have, but the more power we have, the less power the government has. So how do we find that balance that works just right so that we can make sure we have a strong government? A strong country, not a strong government. All right, so just some examples that you can do as students, as you can see in your book. Students have been fighting for their rights in many different ways. They use political tools available to them because you can do that if you feel like the government's too powerful or you don't like what they're doing. You have the right to create and get involved politically. For instance, there's different students who tried to create a Bible study club, while another student tried to create a gay-straight alliance at their schools because they felt that that was their constitutional right to do so. And even in this situation, it wasn't just them trying to do it to get involved. They even got some outside organizations involved as well with this. So you can see that it can be allowed, it can be students can get involved in many different ways. And even the government got involved in this because they were trying to appeal to the government to support their groups. And not only did the government get involved, they got involved even at the national level, which is pretty cool. Here's the student who wanted to start the Bible club. And then there was also the movement for the gay-straight alliance as well. So this person went all the way to Washington, D.C. to try to get her club approved. So thinking about this, how do the actions of the students and the school officials featured in the story that you should have read in your book demonstrate balance between protecting liberty and establishing order? Because that's the balancing act we're looking at. Our liberties, our freedoms versus the government controlling those. And you can see that that's going to be an ongoing theme throughout this course, is finding that balance of the government's power versus our liberties. Okay, next we're going to talk about the American political culture and what different tenets of our culture exist, and it pretty much have existed the entire existence of our country. So when America asserts their rights, they're doing so based on
This is the intercom test.
Hang on.
Intercom.
Sorry for the interruption. So the country, our political culture, it's in our DNA. It's everything. Thomas Jefferson said it best when he said, every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. I'm sure that you know that there are people with a lot of different opinions about politics these days, but we all believe in the same principles. And what principles he was talking about are these ones listed right here that I'm going to talk about today, that are our political culture: democracy, our natural rights, popular sovereignty, republicanism, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and religious freedom. So here are these principles that have come from the Enlightenment, that have come from our founding fathers, and have still stuck with us today. So what are these words? I'm sure you've heard of some of them before, and I'm sure that maybe some of them you haven't, so I'm going to just explain them to you today. Democracy. Democracy is ruled by the people. It's a Greek word. Krasi is rule, and demo is people. So, or demography is like people. So it's ruled by the people. We the people rule. And what is the number one way that we rule? Voting. We get to hire and fire our leaders. So that is how we're ruling. And that is a belief that everybody has as part of our American culture. Natural rights are 3 natural rights that we got the idea from the Enlightenment thinker John Locke. Was our right to life, liberty, and property. We have those. The government cannot take those away from us. And not only that, other people can't take those away from us. And it's the government's job to protect our rights to those. So let's just look at this, for instance. I can't go and kill you because you have the right to your life. that I can't take away from you. The government just can't take away your life. They can't just come to your house and kill you either, because you have that natural right. They can't take that away. They can't take away our liberties. They can't take away our right to freedom of speech. If you've gone on any type of social media, you know that people have freedom of speech, and they can't just come and take our stuff. Like, if we lived in a state of nature, anybody could just come and steal your stuff and not get any consequences from it. And we don't want that. So they're there to protect our property as well. And we've done this with that social. How do we make sure that there's a government to protect us? With the social contract, we made an agreement to allow a government to rule over us as long as they keep our society orderly and functioning. So we want to make sure that it's okay to have a government. It's okay to have them rule over us, because they're really protecting us. That's their job. Their job is to protect those natural rights that we all have. So when we see this in real life, we've seen this in the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson argued this. They're like, dude, King George, you're taking away our rights. Here's this big long list of every right you're taking away from us, and all the property you've even taken away from us. And because you're doing this, we don't find you legit anymore, and we're breaking away from you. Declaration of Independence is the greatest breakup letter of all time, because here's what it said. Dear King George III, I just want to let you know that I'm breaking up with you, and it's definitely you, it's not me. And then here's a list of all the reasons why I hate your guts. And now that I'm a single lady, this is what I'm doing with my freedom. And that's really what it was. And those things, that list that Thomas Jefferson gave in the Declaration of Independence, that basically said, here's all the reasons why you're a big fat jerk. It was, you're taking away our inalienable natural rights. Now, Jefferson tweaked it a little bit. Instead of saying life, liberty, and property, he said life, liberty, and our pursuit to happiness. What he means by pursuit of happiness is that you're taking away our right to have and go after our opportunities. It's that idea that everybody has equality of opportunity. We are all born with the right to pursue whatever opportunity we want to pursue. And it's part of the law of nature. It's part of our natural rights. And some other things that we were upset about, the list is very long. You will see it. Actually, the Declaration of Independence is pretty short, but like, there's a lot of things that we're ticked off about with King George III. But they were upset. We weren't represented over in Parliament. The justice system was absolutely absurd and upside down. They, of course, had the standing armies. Some of you have had to have seen Hamilton before, and if you haven't, you should, because it is fabulous, and it's on Disney Plus right now. But, when King George is singing in the song, and when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. He is definitely talking about the standing army that King George III sent to them. It wasn't, that song was dead on. And then, of course, the taxes. We're so upset about the taxes. All right. Some other parts of our American political culture are popular sovereignty and republicanism. Okay, so if you look at the word sovereignty, I want you to look what word is within the word sovereignty. Right there, in the middle of it, right there, you see the word reign. And not reign like rain and thunder and lightning. We're talking reign like a king's reign, like they rule. And sovereignty is the right to rule. It's a country's right to rule itself. But when it comes to popular sovereignty, it's not like the cool kids rule. It's people. So it's this idea that people rule the government. The government's right to rule comes from us. We give that to them. They didn't just automatically have it. We chose to give it to them. But we like the idea of democracy, but it's just so inefficient and improbable that we rule in everything. Like the people, like all 330 million of us, make government decisions and enforce the government decisions all the time. It's just not probable, and it's not really possible, to be honest with you. So we believe in republicanism. We aren't a democracy in America. We are actually a republic, and a republic is where we choose representatives to do what we want, to make those laws, to enforce those laws, to interpret those laws, rather than all of us doing that. It would just be impossible. We can't all rule like that. So we do that ruling by electing them to be our representatives. So we do believe in a republic. We are a republic. We technically really aren't a democracy. Democracies, some maybe they might work on like a deserted island, but if you've ever read Lord of the Flies, you know that that definitely didn't work. Now, there's two versions of liberty that we see in the United States. We do have social, political, and economic freedoms. There are the two different types of liberties we're looking at, or freedoms, or freedom from the interference of government. We don't want them to interfere in our personal lives. We have the right to privacy. We have the right to speech, protest, religion. But we also have the freedom to pursue our dreams, to pursue the American dream. If we want to be a firefighter one day, we can. If you want to be a teacher one day, you can. If you want to be a ballerina one day, you can. You have the right to pursue that dream, and no one can take that away from you, unless you're Juilliard and I tried out for you, because they could definitely take away me being a ballerina, because I wouldn't even come close. When we feel, and you've seen this over the past several months, when, especially with the death of George Floyd, when we see that there are orders imposed by the government, people get really upset by that, and we definitely see some conflicts going on. I'm going to skip this for now. So the last question I want to ask you is, how might changing values influence American political culture in the future? So I want you to think and come up with some ideas of some values that you feel might have changed, or might you saw the list I gave you of our values of our political culture, and maybe you're like, well, you forgot this or you forgot that. Think about what I might have left out that you think could be a value, and knowing that, how it changed our political culture in the future. All right. I am out for now. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.